people, here we are again. Yes, I'm driving to work again on Saturday. Woo, yay. Anyways, looked on the web for a while last night and this morning, and there's a lot of stuff coming out with the Florida shooter that's really starting to make people look at what's connected between all of these shootings. You've just got all of these lone wolves that have got mental issues that get a gun and they go into a place and shoot it up. But what do all of those people have in common? It's starting to look like they're all on certain medications like antidepressants, antipsychotics, bipolar disorder medication. They're all on medications that would make them more easily suggested. And with the way Big Pharma works now, they have a catalog of people across the nation. They can look at every single one of us and see what are we on. Is it that far of a stretch to imagine that they know if you're on this combination of medications, you're obviously having some mental issues or something. But if you're on these specific medications, when combined in a certain order, then you become extremely, I don't know how to put it right now, I'm out of words. You become very manipulatable. You're easily persuaded. They can almost tell you what to do without you really knowing it. You're suggestible. So, now, think back about, I'm going to say, maybe 10 years. There was an internet puzzle called Tengri 137. I tried figuring them out for a couple years running, and they were tough as shit. Some of them were an audio file that you listened to, but you couldn't really tell what was going on. So you had to put it into a spectrograph so you could see the sound images, the various hertz that they were at. And then you found out, hey, look, there's ultra low frequencies that I can't hear that are in this file. And then people started finally figuring out, ultra low frequencies, and it looks like they're in a pattern. I wonder if that's Morse code. But then that Morse code ended up being ASCII code for a computer. So you had to decode it twice. First you had to find it in the audio file. Okay, you found it. Then you had to find out that, hey, that's Morse code. So you had to decipher the ultra low frequency beats into Morse code, what the equivalent is. From that, you had to find out what the ASCII equivalent of each numeral was, and each letter. Sorry about that. So with, a lot of people being online, playing games, just on chat rooms, social media, with that game being out there for several years running, they just had one, I think, last year. With that game in place for, let's say 8 years. If you had a game like that in place for 8 years, you would know who the smartest people who are perusing the web are today. You couple that with a list that shows you what medications everybody's on, all of a sudden you've got a very good profile of people that you can use for whatever you want. So if you get the correct people in, you've got a puppet on your hands. Now, there's papers that are leaking out. I've seen a couple of them. But there's classified stuff on electromagnetic radiation, EMF, modulated pulse frequencies that can put sound directly into your head that nobody else can hear if they use your cell phone. They can do it broadcast. They do it now at airports. It's called the voice-to-skull something or other. But it makes the birds think there's loud noises, there's things happening, so birds stay away from airports. The shooter in Florida said he heard the voices of demons in his head, telling him to kill everybody, telling him to do whatever. If a group had the power to tell you what to do in your head with nobody else hearing it, and you're on certain medications, and you've already shown a propensity to have some slight mental issues, and you aim towards violence, they know your profile just by your online experiences, what you've done online. It's very easy, if you've got the technology in place, to just pick out a puppet, send them to wherever you want, make them do whatever you want, and now they just look like a crazy lone wolf gunman, and you've got complete and absolute plausible deniability, because that's an awfully big puzzle to try to break and figure out. But the people who did the Tengri puzzle, a lot of those people are starting to figure it out. I think that might be part of the reason the media, all of the people everybody looks up to, why they all look at people kind of like me and anybody else who's got ADHD or slight autistic tendencies. They're looked at as conspiracy theorists, looking way too hard into things. But we just don't stop looking into them. Where the majority of people would look into it, they'd get their answer, they'd be done, they'd move on. I get an answer, and a lot of my friends are the same way, but I get an answer, and it's not quite good enough. I need to know why. I'm not good with it. Just, here's your answer, carry about your day. I want to know why. When I was in the first grade, 1985, I went outside a playground, and my first grade teacher, Mrs. Borschelt, we were out there. I was just getting ready to go play on the monkey bars, and I looked up and asked my teacher, why do some planes leave the big white trails and other planes don't leave any at all? Because at that time there was two planes. They were about the same size. One had a giant white trail that went all the way across the sky, and the other one had a real short one that was disappearing about an inch behind the airplane with your hand at arm's length. It was really short. And the answer I got from my teacher, who at that age I thought had to be one of the smartest people in the world, because otherwise she wouldn't be a teacher, told me that I have no idea. Maybe the condensation's different. Maybe the engines are running differently. Maybe they have a different type of gas. And I knew right there, hey, maybe everything isn't quite what I thought it was, because if the smartest person in the world right beside me who's teaching me doesn't know, then it must be a mystery. I'm going to figure this out. And that was in 1985. I know I ramble. I'm sorry. But if we're going to progress past this shithole of a world we're in right now, that's just the rich completely destroying everything, I mean, when you look into it, that's what's really happening. The really, really rich are cutting costs in every sector of the economy, so everybody at the bottom has to work twice as hard with half as much stuff that's half the quality that it used to be, while trying to survive, making less money than we should be. All that money we used to make is still there. It's just going to certain people only. Whether they reside outside a country, whether they give any of it back to us is not even really happening. When you've got $1 trillion in your bank account, it's not doing anything but sitting there making you look pretty rich. That's all it's doing. So I'm just asking everybody to really start looking into stuff. It's getting so blatantly obvious that when something happens, as it's happening, people are able to say, okay, that's fucked up, that's screwed up, that shouldn't be happening. Why did they just have a drill that same day? Didn't he just tell the FBI about that a month ago? there's too many things that are easily pointed out. It's almost like the ones who've been in charge for a long time are getting panicky. They're getting nervous because they realize that, damn it, they're all starting to snap out of it. They've had a peek behind the curtain. We're not sure how much longer this will work, which I think is why they're really trying to get us to go back to war. Because during war, you don't think about much else. So if people who are starting to figure it out suddenly had a loved one that was drafted, sent off to war, killed, whatever, all the thoughts that guy had before have suddenly been shifted and tainted. Now his thinking isn't going to where can we possibly go. It's going back to how can I get back at these people. We don't need to be divided. Snap out of it. Love you.